that bit in The Simpsons where Chief Wiggum's like, at last, an excuse to wear makeup. That was me this week. At last, an excuse to listen to moving pictures. So we're two huge Rush fans. We've got tickets to see the band for the first time on their 50-plus something tour next year. In the run-up, we're doing this series called Road to Rush, where we listen to every single Rush album, one per week, and share our thoughts with you guys. This time, it was the turn of perhaps the band's most famous album, 1981's Moving Pictures. What did you think?
Well, after never hearing it before, obviously, trying to get away from the standards of it's the best album and so on, it was really nice to go back and listen to it properly.
Yeah.
Not just because I want to listen to the album, but to go actually analyse. And with my upgrade in car stereo recently, there was a lot of bits I'd not actually heard before.
Yeah.
A lot of thickeners and so on.
Yeah. So, obviously, it's the greatest Rush album that they ever made. That's the end of the video. Like and subscribe now. Again, I think I enjoyed it more having listened to the others in sequence.
Yeah.
This was the OG. This was the first sort of one I really got into, and it was the album that made me a fan of Rush. I really understood the band from listening to this album. And it was when we started hanging out, you were, at that point in time, you were pretty much listening to this album non-stop. In the early days of our old band. In the Smashtra, in the
Smashtra disaster.
Yeah, the Vauxhall Smashtra with the massive stereo.
Yeah.
Shall I tell that story about Moving Pictures? So the first time I ever came to your house, you picked us up from here, and your other half at the time rang up and started talking to us on the phone. And there was a point where we got to these lights, and you said, "All right."
I remember now.
You said, "All right, sweet. Yeah, I've got to go. We're just at the shop now." And I was like, "We're nowhere near a shop." And he put the phone down, and he turns the speaker on, and he goes, "We're missing out on some valuable tunes." And then literally the second he finished speaking, it was do 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 do. And you put the phone down on it just because you wanted to listen to Moving Pictures on top volume.
Forgot about that.
And it's one of those, it's an album of two halves, isn't it? Like the first half of the album are the perfect pop songs, and then the second half of the album is where they veer off into experimental territory, doing whatever the hell they want. Which is kind of, it's stock and trade Rush by this point. This is what they do, isn't it? They start with the most accessible song, and then they sort of work their way to being weird and
but they're
crazy.
all pop songs, or even Witch Hunt, which takes a little bit of getting going there. That inevitably is just a pop song, really.
100%.
And obviously the next proper instrumental that they did.
Very
jarring. Every time I used to put this on for passengers or fellow friends, it would be a very jarring start, and then they'd get into the Spanish vibe, and all that sort of thing.
And they really groove on this album. There's a great groove to it.
There's a lot.
And songs like Limelight, it's just a fantastic groove, isn't it? It's just fantastic playing, and it just gets you moving in a way that perhaps previous Rush albums didn't. You can't help but nod your head when they bring in the riff on Limelight. Da 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 da. You can't help but sort of tap along to it and sort of get into it.
Well, it was the beginning of the 80s. It epitomised the era in the sense of that just sort of, I lost a bit of the punk vibe behind him, Wifey Boy, and just thought, no, let's just have a nap ring.
And again, like you say, the Spanish influence, like the European influence on his playing is very pronounced on this album, especially on his soloing. Vital Signs, there's a verse where it drops to electronic drums played on a synthesizer, and I've never noticed that until yesterday.
That's one of my favourite bits of the album.
And it's so clever and it's so well done, because he starts on the full kit with the hi-hats, and then when that bit comes in, the real kit drops out and it's synth drums triggered from like a mini mode. I thought, that's really clever. That's really smart.
But because of the song and what it's about, by the way, it's my favourite song on the album before we get to that one. It's perfect, all the lyrics, like Memory and Ram, and they're all about computer things. It fits in perfectly.
The computer verse. The computer verse of the song kicks in. And of course, we've got the fantastic music videos on this album. We've got the videos of them recording it in the studio, those classic videos at the time.
Tom Sawyer and YYZ. How many days was it for the drum track?
3 days. Yeah. And his hands are bleeding at the end of it, after he's put that solo down and all that stuff.
Have to go for a Macallan.
Yeah. And then apparently there's this insane story that for the guitars on Limelight, for one bit to get some sound effects, they put the amps out in the snow, and like the rain falling on the amps created this insane feedback for one bit of the song, and I was like, that was definitely like a stoned idea, wasn't it? Like, it was definitely nobody who's not stoned off listening to that idea. Like Terry Brown has a joint at the concert. Hey Alex, should we put your calves in the snow? And I was just like, yeah, man, yeah. So yeah, but you've already said best track on the album. Vital
Signs for me, at the point where I discovered Moving Pictures and Full of Spirit Radio at the same time, I was given 2 CDs off my brother. It was a very pivotal point in life, and for some reason Vital Signs took me back to Supertramp at the time, and I don't know why at all, and I've never been able to find the familiarity. It's probably that everybody go. It's probably that bit, that little sort of motif. But Vital Signs for me is just, bloody hell, what a way to end it. You know, it's not the biggest, massivest ending, but gosh, what a groove. And like you say, the mixture of production on it, sure banging.
It's got to be Tom Sawyer, the greatest of all time, man. You know, it's the Rush song, and you know, the open shows with it, and it's just instantly iconic. And non-prog fans know the song, non-Rush fans know the song.
The South Park introduction.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it scores out of 10. Pretty obvious. I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me. You know.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the slide and go 9.5.
A 9.5. Controversial. Not giving movie.
Only because Witch Hunt takes a bit getting into, you know.
You mean that intro where it's got that weird xylophone
Ding
sound?
dong.
You know? The most unique thing about this album is that when we were listening to it back in the day, like 8 years ago, it made us play differently. We'd put certain isms in the music years and years ago because we were listening to this album.
This is absolutely
as like a little
true.
tribute. And none of the other albums have done that really. All the bits where we've kind of done it as a tribute to Rush, it's a piece off this album that we've gone, oh, it's a bit like this. You know?
Yeah,
So,
and I think the tamety again of the synths, you know, we are on the edge of the synths getting overused. Apparently, we're still to talk about it. But I think again they were pristine in this, and it sort of led away. It didn't take away from electronic, you know, acoustic music, but it was ideal.
Oh, we've got synths and we've got electronic drums to enter the fold in the next few weeks with the wonderful power windows. Yeah. What's your favourite song on Moving Pictures? Let us know in the comments below. Next week we'll be back with the Rush album Signals. Thank you for watching.